Hello dear viewer, I welcome you to this lesson. Primary 4 is the class we are going to be discussing. My name is John Kokasomoding as usual. And today we are going to continue with our workbooks. We are on page 70. That is where we are picking our item of discussion from. Page 70 gives us a subtopic that is about the economic activities done by the people in our district. We are writing it on the board as economic activities done in our district. Now we need to note that people in our district do a number of activities in order to meet their needs, in order to get what they need. And mainly, what do they need? They need to get what to eat. They need money. So we are going to understand those activities, but first we need to understand what do we mean by economic activities. What are economic activities? And I am very sure in primary 3 we learned about economic activities. So we are just going to bring back that very definition to this class and we shall continue from there. So we are going to say economic activities are those activities done by people, in order to get money. That is how simple we are going to maintain that definition. The activities done by people in order to get money. Sometimes we can also say they are the activities done by people to earn a living. To earn a living. It is the same as someone saying to get money. So since this one a little disturbs earn a living, you'll find that you might find a difficulty in writing the spelling of the word earn. So let's simply say economic activities are activities that people do in order to get money. We have these activities grouped into two. We have the modern economic activities, and then we shall also be looking at those traditional economic activities. So those ones are the ones we call the types now. Types are two. We have traditional economic activities, and then we shall also look at those modern economic activities. Now, which ones are these which are traditional? The traditional ones. Which are these traditional economic activities? Now, the traditional, or sometimes we can also call them the local economic activities, are the ones that people do, like the ones that people of long ago used to do. For example, we have activities like pottery. That is, we have pottery on our page. We have blacksmithing. Now, blacksmithing, or we will begin with pottery. Pottery simply means making pots. It comes from pottery. And then we have blacksmithing. Blacksmithing, we are looking at the making of tools locally out of iron. That is what we call blacksmithing. And the person who makes tools out of iron ore is what we call a blacksmith. So if you are asked who is a blacksmith is a person who makes local tools out of iron ore. That is what you will say. And then we also have backcloth making. That is making of backcloth to earn a living. And then we have other activities like weaving. Weaving, we are now looking at making woven things. And then we have hunting of the animals. It is also a traditional economic activity, hunting. One goes to the bush, he hunts, he kills the animal, he brings it and then sells it in order to get money. That is what we call that is hunting. Remember, we are looking at economic activities and we are saying these activities are done to get money. We connect them to money. Then we are going to look at the modern ones. So we can call these modern economic activities. Now, the modern economic activities, we are saying these are the ones that people do in modern days now. For example, the ones that are done mainly today. We have activities like mining. We have them on that page 71. We have mining that deals with extraction or getting of minerals from where they are found. And then we have activities like fishing, mining, that is getting minerals from underground. We have got fishing, that we can define as the catching of fish from water bodies. And we can have farming, and this farming we are looking at the modernized farming, that is agricultural, like agricultural mechanization. That is the use of these farm tools, these tractors for doing farm activities. That is under farming. And then we have banking as another economic activity done by the banks. Banking. We have other activities like transportation. As another economic activity, that is people who transport others from one place to another. For example, we have the taxi drivers doing that. And then we have got trade. We have trade. Trade, that is buying and selling of goods or items. You find people buy and they go and sell and they make profits. That also becomes another economic activities. Then next we have what we call industrialization. Industrialization. That is setting up very many industries in an area. And then lastly, we have tourism. Tourism, that is the act of providing facilities or services to the tourists. We shall be looking at that when we go to another class. We are going to the economic activity that is on page 72, that is farming. Now, farming, we simply say, we are making it a subheading here. Farming. Farming is simply defined as the growing of crops. Farming is the growing of crops and the rearing of animals. Rearing of animals, or we can simply say the keeping of animals. That is what we call farming. Farming is divided into two. We have got two types of farming. We have what we call arable farming. Arable farming, which deals with growing of crops. We can also call it cultivation, arable farming. And then the other one, which deals with rearing animals, that is what we put under livestock farming. Arable farming, and then we have livestock farming. So those are the two types that we have in farming. Now, when it comes to farming, that is in growing crops, we have a lot of systems here. This is where we have subsistence farming, that is growing crops and rearing animals mainly for home use, and then the surplus is sold. And then we have others like mixed farming can also come there. And when we go to livestock farming, we are looking at the keeping of animals. For example, we look at the ranch farming, that is keeping animals mainly for beef production. And then we have dairy farming, that is rearing cows for milk production mainly. So those are, among others, the problems, the systems under livestock farming. We are going to look at farming being considered as the backbone of Uganda's economy. That's what I want us to understand here. Farming, we can put a note here. I want you to write this note on that page. You say farming is the backbone. I hope you know the backbone. Like you have a backbone. This is what we call the backbone. So you'll find that farming is considered as the backbone of Uganda's economy. Uganda's economy. Now we are going to get the reason, because tomorrow they will ask us which economic activity is considered as the backbone of Uganda's economy. Now the backbone, if it gets broken, then we know that we are gone. If your backbone gets a problem, then you will also die. So without it, you cannot be a human being. Which means the same applies with farming. Without farming, there is no Uganda. Meaning that Ugandans depend on farming. That is the reason as to why we take it as the backbone of Uganda's economy. Why? We are saying the reason is most Ugandans practice it. Or we can simply say most Ugandans do it. That is the reason as why farming is considered as the backbone of Uganda's economy. Or you can simply say most of the Ugandans depend on it. Most Ugandans depend on farming. They depend on it. That is why we are saying it is the backbone of Uganda's economy. I want you to add that statement to that page 72. It's very, very important. You say, note, farming is the backbone of Uganda's economy. The reason is most Ugandans do it. Or you can simply say, most Ugandans depend on it. That is why we take it as the backbone of Uganda's economy. We are having subsistence farming. We are saying, why do people practice subsistence farming? We say subsistence farming is the growing of crops and rearing of animals mainly for home consumption. Now, why do people practice it? One, it is cheap. Two, it does not require a lot of land. You can grow your crops, rear your few animals mainly for home use. So you'll find that it's cheap, does not require a lot of land, does not require a lot of skilled labor, does not require skills for one to operate. It does not require maybe expensive tools. For it, you need just simple tools. You have your handy hoe, you can be able to do it. So that is why many people practice it. Then also we have the disadvantages that I want you to underline. You make it a subheading in that list of the reasons why people do subsistence farming. We have there a sentence saying disadvantages of subsistence farming. Please underline it. It's a subheading. The first disadvantage is this system of farming keeps a farmer in poverty. You will find that one remains poor forever. Why? Because this farmer grows the crops, rears animals mainly to eat. So there is no serious selling that would make this farmer to get a lot of money. So the farmer grows and rears mainly to eat. So this farmer does not develop. So we are saying this type of farming keeps a farmer in poverty. Then secondly, a farmer gets low yields. He will harvest less because does not grow large areas or large gardens. Just grows just short, small garden. So even when it comes to harvesting, remember they say you reap what you sow. So if you planted just a small area, you will also harvest something small. As the other ones who plant or who have crops on plantation farms will be harvesting and they will be getting a lot of crop yields. The other one is what we call mixed farming. Mixed farming, we are simply looking at the growing of crops and the rearing of animals on the same piece of land. And we are having the advantages and the disadvantages still. The advantages, one, you will find that a farmer is able to get double income. How? A farmer gets the income from selling the goods, the crops, can get the income from selling the animals. Then also a farmer gets the food. That one is correct. And then we have what we call interdependence. Of course, we are having the crops, we are having the animals. So we shall be able to note that the crops which are grown can depend on the animals for manure. At the same time, the animals which are kept in that farm can feed on the crops as food or as their feeds. That is what we need to note. Then when it comes to the disadvantages, number one, this system of farming is very expensive. One has to be with a lot of land, a large piece of land, where you can establish the animals and also establish the crops on a large scale, rather. Then we have also another problem that these animals reared or which are kept in that area can sometimes become pests to the crops. What I mean is the animals kept can attack the crops and they can eat up the crops if they are not well cared for or well handled, and it will become a serious problem. And then we are saying that this system of farming requires one to have the skills. It requires a skilled labor. One should be having the knowledge on how to do things in that farm. For that, we go to what we call plantation farming. On page 73, plantation farming is the growing of one perennial crop on a large scale. Now, what we mean by perennial crops, we are looking at crops that take long or they stay for seasons in the garden. Plantation farming. Remember, plantation farming is under what we call arable farming, growing of crops. Now, plantation farming, I would say, growing of one perennial crop. Growing of one, sometimes we say, is the growing of a single perennial crop. And this one is done on a large scale. So what happens here is you'll find one garden, a very large garden, very large piece of land, having only one crop grown in it. And that crop takes seasons in that garden. They are not like these annual crops that we plant in one season, we remove. Those ones like beans, you plant once harvested, they put the remaining parts down. Crops like maize, after harvesting, no more harvesting done, so they put those straws down. Crops like millet, simsim, sorghum, all those after harvesting, they are put down. But this we call perennial crops. For them, they last for long. They take a lot of time. They take seasons in the garden. For example, if we are to look at the examples of these perennial crops, examples of perennial crops. Examples of perennial crops, look at crops like coffee, tea, tobacco. We have oil palm. We have crops like cocoa. Which other one can we have here? Now, when we look at these crops, let's take this as an example. When we look at these crops, we shall find that crops like coffee, the crop is in the garden. When it bears the seeds become ready. They just go and pick the seeds. Harvesting is done by what we call hand picking. After picking the seeds, putting in the basket, they take, the crop remains standing. Another season comes, it again bears. A farmer does not replant, that very one will again bear the seeds and they will again be harvested. Crops like tea, the same. When the tea is in the garden, they will go and harvest, but still by hand picking. They pick the tea leaves. They pick those leaves as they put them in the basket. They pick and they always move with those baskets behind. So they pick and they throw in behind there on the basket. They keep on picking. And the plants remain to again regrow more leaves. Then they will again come and keep on harvesting. That is what we call a perennial crop. Then the other one is sugarcane. When we look at a sugarcane crop, you will find that sugarcane can also be planted once, and it keeps on being in the garden, and they will keep on harvesting it. You find as it grows, as one stem grows, by the time it reaches it, maybe it's now maturing, there are others which are coming. So you'll find others keep on germinating, and a farmer does not again need to replant, but it will just keep on harvesting. Those are the crops that we call perennial crops. The same applies to crops like bananas. In the garden, you can have that garden of bananas. And what I want you to note is that that garden, that large piece of land where this one crop is grown, is what we call a plantation farm. We can also call it an estate. That's why sometimes plantation farming can also be called estate farming. That is what I want you to understand as our primary 4 child. Plantation farming can also be called an estate farming. That large piece of land which has that one perennial crop grown in it is what we call an estate or a plantation garden. We have on page 74, before we talk about fishing, which is there, we are looking at what are the advantages of these plantation farms. Now, when it comes to the advantages of plantation farms, if you are asked, I want you to get a pen and you put somewhere advantages of plantation farms. We have page 73. Page 73. We can try to put some there. Advantages of plantation farming. Advantages of plantation farming. That I said we can also call it estate farming. Now the first advantage is this large piece of land cannot be worked upon by one person, so it requires a lot of people. So because of these people being wanted, it means that those people get jobs. So we can say this one provides jobs to people, So you will find that people who work in those plantation farms. Secondly, apart from providing jobs, those plantation farms produce raw materials for agro-based industry. Plantation farming is a source of raw materials. One time we say raw materials are items which are used to make other products. For example, we have talked about sugarcane being grown here. This sugarcane can be processed into sugar, which means this sugarcane becomes a raw material from that garden, from that plantation farm. We have now got a raw material which is going to be processed into other products. We are having crops like tobacco. Tobacco is planted in that plantation farm. When it is harvested, they will take the tobacco and they will process into cigarettes. So that is what we mean by providing or being a source of raw materials. And then also, these ones are a source of government revenue, and then of course they can earn income to an area or to someone, that is to the owner. Then the advantages of plantation farming, you will talk about it being expensive. Since it requires a large piece of land, it becomes very expensive. 2, it requires skills. One should be having the skills to manage that plantation farm. If not, then a person will not be able to understand it well. Let us go to page 74, which gives us fishing. Fishing, we learned it from primary 3. We are simply saying fishing is the catching of fish from the water body. We are having fishing. We are saying fishing is the catching. The word catching, dear primary 4 child, you have to be very careful when you are writing it. Write catch, catch, catch. Then you put ing. Fishing is the catching of fish from the water bodies. Now we need to understand which are the examples of the water bodies where that catching of fish takes place. Examples of water bodies. Which water bodies are these? And we are going to look at the ones that we have in our district. We have lakes. We have rivers. We shall have streams. We have swamps. We have ponds. So these are the examples of water bodies that we have in our district that support that fishing. So people go there and they catch the fish. We have also terms that we need to understand in fishing. We have what we call a fisherman. A fisherman. And then the second term is what we call a fishmonger. As a P.4 child, we are going to get the definition of the two. Now, who is a fisherman? A fisherman, and who is a fishmonger? A fisherman is a person who catches fish from the water body. Then a fishmonger is a person who buys fish from the fisherman and takes to sell to other people in order for him to get profits. So that is the difference between a fisherman and a fishmonger. A fisherman gets the fish from the water body, then sells it or sells those fish to a fishmonger, who will then now sell them to the individuals in the markets. That is what we need to understand here. We are going to look at the methods of fishing. How do these fishermen get the fish from water? They use a lot of methods, and these methods we are going to group them into two. We are going to have those that are modern methods of fishing. We are going to have the modern methods of fishing. Modern methods, and then we shall have the traditional methods. The traditional methods, we can also call them the local methods. Now, which methods are modern and which methods are traditional? When we look at our page 74, it gives us the modern methods like gill netting, that is use of gill nets. And then we have trawling method, we have pass seining method, and then we have line method. Then when we come to the traditional methods, we have methods like using hooks, using fish baskets, using spears. Find the fisherman can use a spear, and this one is done on clean water, where the fisherman can be able to see the fish easily moving on the water, in the water rather, and then stabs it and gets it up. That is also another method. And then we have talked of fishing baskets, and then we are having using hands to catch the fish. You find that they first surround some area and then they drain the water so that the water reduces, such that the fish can be seen floating. Then they can now use the hands to catch the fish. We need to understand that we have got the types of fish which are caught in Uganda. We have the tilapia fish that we are saying is commonly caught in Lake Victoria. And then we have the mud fish, which is commonly caught in the swamps. Remember, we talked about the swamps somewhere as we wrapped it. We talked of swamps as water bodies that support fishing. And then we also have what we call the Nile perch, and we have the lungfish, the catfish. We have the methods of preserving fish. When this fish is caught, it's supposed to be preserved such that it remains safe for a long time. We call that fish preservation. Fish preservation is a way of keeping fish, or we can simply say fish preservation is the keeping of fish safe for a long time, without it going bad. That is what we mean by fish preservation. A way of keeping fish safe for a long time without it going bad. Such that if a fish was caught today, that fish can be able to remain good for other days. So which methods are these? We are going to look at still two. These methods are grouped into two. We shall have the modern methods, and then we shall also be having the local methods of preserving fish. Now, which ones are the modern methods? The modern methods, we look at methods like modern methods of preserving fish. We look at methods like refrigeration. That is using a fridge or putting the fish in the fridge such that the fridge keeps it safe. Remember, we put our things in the fridge so that they don't go bad. And then we have the other method called tinning, or then we have got canning. So those are the methods that we can use in modern preserving. Then when we go to the local ones, in the local ones we have methods like salting, that is using salt to preserve it. We have methods like smoking, and then we have sun drying method can also come. Then use of ice, that is what we can call icing, putting ice on the fish, covering the fish with the ice such that it's kept fresh for a long time without it going bad. So we need to know that out of these methods in our district, mainly the fish preserved, or most of the fish is preserved through smoking. When we go to the market, you'll find that if we don't get a fresh fish, of course the fresh one is not preserved, but the ones which are preserved, you'll find most of those fish are preserved by smoking. You will find they put smoke and you find it changing the color, becoming black a little. So that is what we call smoking. It's the commonest method of preserving fish in our district. And then that page gives us the problems facing, importance of fish. We are saying fish can be sold for income, fish can be eaten as food, fishing can bring, it can be an activity to someone. And then the bones from the fish can be used for making the animal feeds. And we got the problems that are facing the fishing industry. Sometimes we have problems like drought, which can dry up the water bodies. And when these water bodies dry, of course, people now will lack where to go and carry out fishing from. And then we have other problems like use of poor fishing methods by some fishermen. And also we have water hyacinth, that is the water weed that grows on the water. And when the water weed, remember a weed, you say a weed is the unwanted plant which grows in the garden. Now we have the weeds that grow on the lake. We call them the water weed. The water weed that we can call the water hyacinth. You find this weed covers the top, the water. Therefore, if a fisherman wanted to carry out fishing, like maybe using a net, there is no way a fisherman can spread the net. The net will just remain on that vegetation because it is not, you can't see the water. And also that water hyacinth can make the boats not to move on water, and that will affect the fishing industry. And then we have the solutions, that is those like the water weed can be destroyed, and then we have people being encouraged to use the proper fishing methods such that they can be able to have another fish tomorrow. Those ones who use small sized nets with small holes, in that even if they get a younger fish, smaller one cannot escape, they take all. Remember, they are encouraged to use the other ones with large holes, such that they will only be able to catch the big fish. The smaller ones will be able to escape through those holes and they get out, such that they also grow fast and they become big. They will be coming back for them another day. So that is what we can share as for fishing, and it marks the end of our lesson for today. I want to thank you so much for taking your time to watch this lesson, and I pray that you continue watching more such that you keep yourself updated as a primary 4, such that you will be preparing yourself for primary 5. Thank you, and may God bless you.